episode 348.
You've got to throw some cold water on this situation. Start talking about nerd stuff.
You know, nerd culture is mainstream now, so when you use the word nerd derogatorily, it means you're the one that's out of the zeitgeist.
System activate.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Trent Hunsaker. It's a tech podcast. But we are a ton cooler than your typical geek.
You guys rock.
And now, here's Will and Trent.
No one listens to the radio. I wasn't even listening. I was listening to podcasts. Podcasts are great. Radio's boring.
Amen, brother. Thank you for bringing the truth. Welcome to another edition of NetHeads. My name is Will.
And I'm Trent.
If you want to take part in the program, well, there's one way after the fact, and that's via that little app called Twitter. Trent, you want to tell them how they do that?
Yeah, if you want to make sure that we actually see it, use the hashtag NetHeads. That's that. I mean, by all means, if you're watching in many of the ways that you can, chat along and engage. But the only sure way that we're going to see it after the fact is through Twitter with hashtag NetHeads.
Exactly. And welcome to all of our Patreon subscribers that are not out having fun on a Saturday night as we record this live for them, including new additions like Jamie Cat Ears coming in at our $5 level. And forgive me for not knowing how to properly pronounce this name. I don't know if it's Diane or Diane, but Weeks. D Weeks, we will just say until receiving clarification. Welcome very much and thank you for your support. Trent, it is amazing. Actually, it's not amazing. I had a buddy once tell me in doing a lot of work that he was with philanthropy charities, nonprofit organizations. The biggest problem they all had in raising funds to overcome, can you guess it, Trent?
Getting people to click yes, subscribe. Yeah, yes.
Asking for the money, Trent. Asking for the money. Biggest thing
in the terminology is of the industry, it's making the ask.
Yes, making the ask, exactly. And
yeah.
Sure enough, we started putting out there that we're making some changes and these things are available. And you know, if you mention it, they might come. So thank you guys very much for joining the NetHeads Patreon family. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Diane, longtime friend of the program.
Yes, definitely.
From years back. And if you want to follow Jamie, our newest subscriber, on Twitter, it's at Canamiss, Canamiss.
Do you think that has anything to do with marijuana, Trent?
It could. And you know, here's what's so fun about language. It could also have to do with maybe Canada.
Or maybe somebody that's very proficient in the activity of canning.
True. Maybe she's really into artisan pickles.
And preserves. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, but you know how you could find out. Follow her, and I'm sure that she will tweet out what it means.
Definitely. Also, shout out to Tony, Mr. Marvelite. Briefly seen on last week's show. It goes so well with my cool ass. Well, I think it's cool. The Roosevelt's. Pardon me. I don't know why I can't say Quick Stop inspired attire. It's this yellow collared shirt, very breathable, and it's got like Quick Stop groceries and a boom box, like pictures articulated in it. You can make it out if you see the video, which $2 and above can see, and then the free version comes out in subsequent days, just like the podcast. Anyway, so I wanted to wear my Nerd Initiative hat to go with it. I don't know. I know I normally bring all this sexy skin for you guys, but you know, I don't usually cover it up. But this time I decided it was best to.
I did see that the nerd hat was part of the attire at the commie convention.
Yes, wait a second. That's not. Yes, Trent.
That's not what it is.
Not very. I'm not trying to bury the lead, but yeah, I did. This is kind of my Comic-Con wrap-up show, telling about all the elements that happen. And I will admit that if you were following me on TikTok, not that I'm trying to push anybody to that, but if you were, then you would have gotten some of this. And I've saved for the podcast here, Trent, a little backstory to one of the things that happened, because it still cracks me up. But yeah, this Roosevelt shirt I did get at the Movies pop-up in San Diego as well, that they hosted at Tin Roof, where there were all them podcasts that needed to get out and all those entries that needed to be created. And thank God there's an excuse to go. First of all, let's take one thing off of the table right now, because Trent, before we went, there was the discussion, and probably not the revelation, but it had been so long I forgot, that of the two of us, there is still one man standing in the hasn't got COVID yet, right?
Dude. And everyone I talked to who was going so strong is falling fast. Utah's in a bad place right now, but you, by some means, have not only avoided the COVID, but now in California, the monkeypox.
Why do you have to bring that up and remind me? Why do you got to remind me of that too? It's like I already wasn't wanting to be around people, but now they've wished a pox upon me, Trent.
Well, at least from my very passive research, unless you're making physical contact, you're probably pretty safe from the monkeypox.
Right, but wasn't it San Francisco that just announced and then what does my teenage daughter do today to hang out with her cousin before she goes back up to college? Goes to a beach in San Francisco, my friend.
Well, as long as she's not canoodling with any others, she'll be fine.
A pox upon me, my friend. I hope not. Anyway, so to get it out of the way, all signs point to me effectively having avoided it in yet another round of is this allergies or is it COVID? So after I got back on Sunday, first of all, I was double masked and triple masked in some instances. And I would also like to commend the people running San Diego Comic-Con, because if you were to enter the convention area for any of the official events within the building, you first had to either provide evidence of vaccination or negative tests in the previous 72 hours. And masks, appropriate masks, were required at all times on the floor and in the panels and the like. So, you know, they definitely said, we don't want to be sued for this, and said, we're going to put masks on our face, and you guys are doing it anyway, which we discussed inspired me to actually 3D print something to make it fun. And the one that, like we discussed, was the Bane mask, which I did. And it has an area right here where you can insert a filter to do that. Although I can also rate all of them, because I then, you know, because there's so much time in the world, Trent, before I'm going to a convention in a few days.
Right, yeah.
I then decided, well, you know what? The Darth Vader one that's in that same kit would go really well. And it too has a place where you could insert a mask filter. So I did that with this one as well. By the way, this one of the most comfortable masks to wear, but also with both an N95 underneath and an N95 in place. No one could hear me. No one could understand. I was I was literally hardware horse. What are you saying to me? So then there was Vader. And then the last night, the last day would be if I got into the Marvel Hall H panel. If that happened, make mine Marvel for the day, okay?
Yeah.
At which point, I decided to go with Winter Soldier, another quick acquisition.
Yeah.
Not a bad mask. I got compliments all day. However, there were two things that I decided. And first of all, I did mess up, and I talked about this as well. I decided the Bane mask could probably go a little bit bigger for my comfort, and so this is what we ended up with. However, as you have often discussed, my friend, with Will Kent schooling you on appropriate alignment for intended pressure and tension,
yeah,
my print lines were going along the tension line, thus creating just easy splits that can be made. This, my friend, is gaffer's tape all around with fresh holes made to be able to pull that one off for the day. So also the least comfortable, because although a great design, and the only way it can accommodate it is with this nose indentation, that also creates a situation that when you're breathing through your nose, it's just getting filtered by the filter you're wearing, because it's immediately blasting back up, bouncing off that surface.
Yeah, and if you're wearing glasses, that's being shot, I'm guessing, right underneath your nose, right?
Yeah,
dude, that's the worst. Like with every mask, regardless, like there's nothing built well for someone that wears glasses.
No, there isn't. But I will say, the only benefit of the San Diego humidity that was present. Hey, Zach is joining us in the chat. Zach in the back attack happening. Nice to see you, sir. The nice thing about the humidity in San Diego, though, is that when that was happening, I would be outside and be able to see just fine, because the humidity level was so high that my glasses wouldn't fog up.
Yeah, yeah. Which is like, to me, is mind-boggling, living in one of the driest states in the union, to think that there's a place where the humidity just naturally matches the humidity coming out of my nose.
Yeah, it was like 80 or 83% when we were there. That's most of the time.
Insane to me, dude. Like we're at like 2% usually.
It paid off, though. The days might have been a little warmer than I liked, but the evenings were comfortable, except for Saturdays, where it did dip a little bit, and I was able to also wear the Nerd Initiative hoodie that they provided me. So it became a day of like Nerd Initiative pushing with all my media. And nice and comfortable. So, although I gotta say, and I don't know if you do this, but I did notice after, because this was one of the few times in the Airbnb we got, which was just right up 5th Street. So it was just a straight shot down and back. It was perfect. I mean, aside from being positioned above 2 different clubs, it was perfect. And with noise canceling headphones on, I slept great. I'll just say that. Did I mention 2 clubs? Anyway, I did discover, because I was using the dresser, am I the only one that packs like I'm anticipating some type of pants-related accident, like maybe 2 or 3 times a day? As I was unpacking, I'm like, wait, I'm here for 4 days technically. Why do I have 10 to 12 pairs of underwear packed?
See, I do. I overpack in socks always.
Okay.
Because there's like, and this is one I learned from my roommate. Whenever he's having a bad day, like at work, he always has a couple pair extra socks stored away. He just changes his socks, and that like always betters your mood no matter what. So I always take extra socks. And it's just like, it gives me like a shot of like vitamin B, almost vitamin E. Like I'm ready to go. But no, if anything, I underpack on the underwears usually.
Yeah. So, well, hopefully you're not going like inside out or back to front, then front to back, or whatever.
No,
but I don't want to get into that.
Before that happens.
I will also mention that not only in last minute con form did I also print up the Winter Soldier one into larger size. So I did that with Bane and then with the Winter Soldier. Thankfully, I've got 2 different 3D printers to kind of get through all that. But the Winter Soldier one, I think, actually was the most comfortable because of the way it just... And by the way, molding them to my face is just as simple as dipping them in boiling water and then putting a wash rag over it and on your face. And then you do the other side, and then you kind of try and get both, and now you're centered. So this one really was the most comfortable, and I got the most compliments on as well. And it would be great for getting into the Marvel panel. But first, Trent, we'll just talk about the Thursday. So first of all, got in Wednesday, preview night, went through the floor, checked out who would be in Artist Alley, and based on the number of people that were present there, I said I shall not be back till Sunday, pretty much. I did dip in early to take a picture at the clerk's booth that Lionsgate had set up, because they had set up like a virtual counter and
I saw photos of that.
Yeah, so I was able to get that, and then we promptly got out. Not only that, I'm very proud of Emily, who went along with me, because when we dipped into Hall H, because Thursday you can pretty much just walk right into Hall H, and we got there just in time for the Dungeons and Dragons panel, which is the movie with that Chris Pine is the lead in, and Hugh Grant, I think, is in too. It looks like it's going to be fun, of all things. But we got into that panel. Emily specifically picked seats in the least crowded part of Hall H at the aisle as well. So we had like an 8 to 10 foot radius of nobody around us whatsoever.
I'm surprised that there was any amount of space at all. That's great.
Well, Thursdays are that way. And you know, we pretty much got hunkered in with Dungeons and Dragons because that was then followed up. I can't remember what followed it up. And then there was Kevin's 2 panels, one for Masters of the Universe, which started with just pure nostalgia on the screen. I was taken back to being a kid going, oh, I wanted that, or oh, that's so neat, or oh, I remember the cartoon doing that, and yeah, that movie was really terrible, kind of stuff, all right there up on the screen. By the way, Dolph Lundgren was one of the panelists.
Oh, was he really?
He was. And Shatner, because apparently he's going to be doing a voice on Masters of the Universe Revolution, which is the 2nd season of Smith's produced cartoon, hence hosting the panel. And then there was a Shatner on Shatner when he hosted. And then we just went to the movies pop-up for Fat Man Beyond, and that made sure that got out there to the world. And then we just retired for the night. Now, do you mind if I dip into another little story at this point, Trent?
No, by all means, please do.
Good, because this takes us to the next point. That was my Thursday. However, while I was doing that, I was also checking out that Kevin Smith Club has its own Discord. One of the member areas are conventions and events. And in there was some chatter about people that would be in the next day line for Hall H for Saturday. And I have not been granted any extra or special powers. I have no access way to Hall H other than my assigned time to be there. And I'm thinking, you know, we've come to the end of the road unless we want to have the quintessential Comic-Con experience and put in some time in the next day line. Did not know the commitment I was getting into, but if you're willing to sit for it, I can tell you what that was like.
Wait. So you got in the next day line?
Yeah, the Kevin Smith's Discord was there was in the conventions and events area. There were people that were talking about getting into the line, and one of them was this great person by the name of Mark. And Mark had said, well, I'm going to go down and check it out because I used to hang out overnight to get into Conan. So now I'll just check this out. That was 10 o'clock at night on Thursday. Friday morning, I wake up around 6:30 something. He posted, hey, Will, I'm in the next day line if you want to come and hang out. So instantly I'm like, this is it. Not understanding at the time, as I was to find out later, Mark stayed the night in the line to hold the place, even when they were being ambiguous if there was even a line or not. You know what I mean?
So there was like, this is where the line will probably be once it's made official. So if anyone wanted to like perhaps stake out some ground here,
yes,
to get firsties, to get dibs, if you will, on the place in line, but it wasn't even made officially a line yet. There was no official queue that had been established.
Exactly. Just, hey, I'm gonna sit here and hope for the best. That's what Mark did, and Mark is my hero because he did that overnight. Now, because he said that, I'm like, all right, well, immediately we need a few things. Emily needs another pair of pants because we're going to be sitting outside, and I'm going to need some chairs. So we quickly get a lift to Target, buy some chairs. She gets her pants, and then we go back. And then there was the no, that was the first thing. So I'm like, we can get there by 11, so that way we knew we wouldn't be terribly rushing. And so we did, and he got a few hours off. And then I got back in time for Fat Man Beyond's daily update the next day.
Yeah.
So, you know, but we did sit there for like 3 or 4 hours. Now, the interesting thing that happened is I got to learn the self-policing rules of the Hall H next day line, because there is, Trent, there is an entire subculture to this line. Trent, I found out this line has its own history and lore, if you will.
Now, this is just for like the Hall H line itself, because Hall H is the big event space, right? For announcements, for whatever. Like if I'm not necessarily a vendor but a panelist, if I know I've made it when I'm in Hall H, right? That's the featured hall.
6,500 people can get into that venue, including reserved and press and the like. And that is where all the big announcements happen. And because Saturday is the one day almost nobody has to work, it's the biggest day for announcements.
Sure.
So,
sure.
And there was a lot on the deck already. There was DC. There was the Star Trek universe. So the entire, basically, Paramount Plus presentation. There was Sandman First Look, which was just...
Oh, my God, dude.
It is mind-numbingly, adoringly adhering to the material.
Yes.
You know, like we saw a scene of Death and Dreams sitting at a park bench, having their conversation. Really, really great panel there. Followed up by Entertainment Weekly's women, strong women of entertainment, basically. I always get the title wrong. And again, as the father of a young woman, once again, I'm glad Emily and I were in this panel, both because, one, it gave her a lot of good, I think, life advice as a woman growing up even in the world, and also because it really gave me time to finally get up and go to the bathroom, because, yes, I got into Hall H, but okay, so Sandman First Look was there, the women one, and then it would go into Marvel, and then Kevin Smith. Now, mind you, this is the way it is. If you go into Hall H, there's no insies, outsies, unless you get a pass for that panel. So you have until that panel is done to get your ass back in. So
into that same spot.
Yeah, so that's it. But we haven't, technically in the line, we haven't gotten that. But that was everything that was at stake. If I wanted to get in for Marvel, if that was our absolute, then we had certain things we had to do. We had to serve our time in line.
Right, and this is because they don't sweep the room in between.
No, not cleared out.
And which makes sense for a time aspect, right? Like if you want to keep shit rolling and stay on schedule, you can't afford to sweep everyone out, because that would just take way too long, and then leave those who had the pass already for that event, whatever. There, like it wouldn't. It's not time efficient. Right.
And they'll maintain an overflow line where, you know, if certain people do bomb out, like somebody was just there for the Star Trek of it all, they could then get more people in. So, but I still haven't even gotten there. So we got to put our time in line. Then we went away, we came back, and you have to be there for when they start handing out the bands for groups. Now there's Group A, Group B, C, D, E, I think, and all of them have 1,500 bands in them that they could give out. Now, A's could be ahead of B's, B's are ahead of C's, etc., etc. But even that gets complex, because now these people were at a place in line. Mark found himself between one person that was holding a spot for he and his girlfriend, and then another one, which was a large group. And the great thing about Mark being solo, like at one point he said, "How many people are in our group?" And I'm like, "Well, you, my daughter, and myself, and whoever else you include, because one person can represent one group of 5 people. Now, that doesn't mean that those other people can show up and then they become 5 people.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but they...
A group minimum is 5.
Yes. And so that's what that person's representing. And so Mark was holding our slot representing 5 people. And when we came just to hold the line, both my daughter and I still only represented, at that point, 3 other people. You get it, right?
Being established, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, that makes sense.
However, there was drama even with that, because these wonderful people all were about 50 people back from the front of the line. But the front kept swelling up because apparently there were people that were sharing about their position on Reddit or Discords of various threads, and they were offering up spots. So the line that these people started at 50 people back, we were in Group B, so we were after the first 1,500, but we did get banded. But that also almost took until midnight. And that in itself is a process, but I won't get into it. But it was amazing to be a part of that culture. And then to also hear all these people talking about how things used to be. And like I said, there's the line has its own lore. It's like, this didn't happen until the children of the Twilight came and must have and demanded that they get into the Age of Halls, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And it's, I mean, culturally, it's interesting how like, I mean, to use the term, not in a derogatory sense, but essentially what it is, a one and done tourist type into the Hall H culture changed the culture in and of itself, right? To accommodate for that influx of people, at perhaps maybe even one time, but it changed things forever. Right? Like that's crazy.
Yeah. So it was really great. And plus it was amazing that there were just so many people that were so supportive. Now in the time waiting to get banded, because again, I'm like, we need to go and we need to put in our time if we're going to earn this, if we're going to feel, and by the way, this experience in many ways made me feel bad for having snuck my way in 2019, knowing what others actually go through to do this. Because, Trent, first of all, I'll tell the one funny story. This absolutely cracks me up. Emily and I come back and other people are sitting in our chairs because we left our chairs to be used by the community. So that way people could be comfortable since we weren't there. And Mark wasn't exactly sitting in a very big portable chair. So I'm like, this way I know he's got a good chair too.
Sure. I mean, with the like pretense of like, when I come back, I'll get my chair back because it's mine.
I mean, in theory,
right,
yeah. But at the time, I'm not wanting to rock the boat. I'm still new to this culture, so I don't want to. Maybe there's an understanding that the chair is fair until it's unoccupied. I don't know.
Until your ass is fair. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And also, thank you for continuing the rhyme. So
thank you.
So I'm sitting there now. One of the things that oddly enough, the world of TikTok has brought me is that I know what one of the co-creators of Phineas and Ferb, Dan Povenmire, looks like, because he's active on the platform. And so, and I follow him, so I know what he looks like. So we're standing there for a couple minutes. And now we're positioned in the line between the IMDb boat and some other pirate ship promoting some other thing not important. And so I'm standing there, and there's a line of, it's basically 2 lines deep, because they had taken the line and moved it up against the walkway, and then moved the rest of the line up in the middle of the walkway. So that way they can maintain 2 channels for banding, get more people from being wrapped all the way around the marina, etc., etc. As I'm standing there, over the line of people, I see a pedicab come in. And I'm like, wow, that looks like Dan Povenmire. Now, in my mind, I'm quickly doing a calculation, and I'd say, all right, I've got one of two things. I could say, hey, guys, is that Dan Povenmire? Or I can just yell something to see if it is Dan Povenmire. So that way, if it isn't him, I'm the only one that looks like an asshole to him, and maybe not necessarily all of them. In my head, that's what essentially went through.
The equivalent of Kramer trying to get Joe DiMaggio's attention in the coffee shop.
I guess so. Good analogy. So I'm just at the last second. Well, not even the last second, but my calculation just led me to yelling, "We love you, Dan." And then he keeps pedaling on, no reaction. I'm like, must have not been him. But now I have realized the part of the equation I didn't calculate, which is all of the people that I am with who are new to me are suddenly confronted with this guy blurting something out and looking at him as the crazy man he does seem like. Okay?
Sure. I mean, this is first impressions, right?
Exactly.
You're still in like a honeymoon stage, not only with the Hall H culture, but with the people who have adopted you into this culture.
It gets so much better, though, because that fear converts in just a moment, Trent, because as they look at me, I said, oh, and I just then say, I think that was Dan Povenmire in the pedicab. I don't get so much as Povenmire when 4 to 5 grown-ass adult men jump up and start sprinting after that pedicab. Grown-ass men, my friend.
And this is just on hearing that you thought that it could have been. There's a chance that this was him.
Right. I mean, there still is a chance. I got no reaction, but that could be because he's used to it. He's a Comic-Con. This is his element, you know? We don't know.
Yeah.
It still just cracked me up. But best of all, our seats were now open, and we sat down and retook them. But that was still, I still can't believe at the mentioning of Dan Povenmire, I saw 4 to 5 grown-ass men, just, you know, like full-on adult. These are people that can vote, Trent.
Now, see, I would like to think that this is something that you could pull from in your Comic-Con arsenal for future events, right? So, like, let's say perhaps you didn't bring chairs, but you know the rule of if the ass is bare, the chair is fair.
Ah, very nice.
Right. So maybe you throw out like, oh my God, is that Jason Momoa?
Oh yeah, no, I'm remembering this one.
You jump up and leave, and all of a sudden you have open seats.
Exactly. Believe me, I'm not letting this one go, my brother.
That's smart, man.
I'm holding on to it. Hey, let's interrupt Will and Trent with Will and Trent to tell you about a way you can improve the sound profile of your life while increasing your ability to have flexible sound wherever the heck you want for it. Trent, one of the things that I absolutely love and adore are my Sonos speakers. Are you aware of these amazing devices?
Well, what you just described, it sounded so smart that it went right over my head.
Well, Trent, you know, back in the day, if you want a quality sound in your home, like, you know, back in when I was a kid, I don't know about you, with your newfangled boom boxes and the Jimmy Jacks that you had, but back in my day, you had to have an audio receiver to process all that sound, and then you have feet upon feet, a stereo wire going everywhere.
Oh, the speaker wire was the worst, dude. Like I still have scars on my fingers from braiding.
Yeah.
And then like trying to take the cabling apart to get to that golden crispy copper wire to then stab it into my own fingers. It was the worst.
Yes, man. Those copper barbs cut like a knife, my friend.
Yes.
But you know, the best part about technology today is that you can get smart speakers, and there are amazing smart speakers from Sonos. There's the Sonos One that you can pair with your smart devices or work with the app, tie into Spotify, and you can have an amazing sound just booming all over your home, anywhere you could plug in a speaker. Or, better yet, they've also got sound bars to hook up to your surround sound systems to give you impressive depth of sound while also providing smart speaker technology. And for those of you that want to take your sound on the go, they got portable Bluetooth speakers as well that, again, incorporate smart technology in them, not only to provide an excellent sound profile, but also to give you access to your digital assistants or stream your favorite music too. What more could you ask for, Trent?
Will, as someone who yearly puts in over 60,000 hours of Spotify listening, I'm surprised I haven't dived into the Sonos world yet.
Well, if you would like to, Trent, you can do it easily by going to netheadsonair.com/Sonos. There's a tile for every one of the amazing devices that you can take a look at, add to your shopping cart, and give yourself incredible sound with smart features and smart results. Again, that's netheadsonair.com/Sonos. I always want to say /, but that's the...
They know.
Yeah.
They get it.
netheadsonair.com/Sonos for more. So we waited to get banded. That happened. And then we finally did, as I mentioned, close to midnight. Now, however, there is more to the process, Trent, because you then, representatives of your group, so like let's say we were a group of 25, at least 5 people had to stay, which that was actually what it was. Those people get in line and wait to get moved into the channels right before the shoots to go in. So there are these white tents covering the area, and they get moved into there. So you get representatives that then again stay the night outside in under these spaces to hold your spot. And then you've got to come back before 7 when they'll cut off security and show a picture of your group to gain access to your group. So you remember I mentioned that there was that artificial inflation by numbers growing because slots had been open?
Yeah.
My group, although we were in B, still got into A seating because then all those people had absolutely nobody to reference to get in touch with.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So it wasn't really very swollen ahead of us by the time we got in, but Emily and I were there 6 o'clock in the morning, I think, or 5:45, and just sitting in our chairs again, waiting to get in to then spend the entire day in Hall H.
In Hall H.
That's it.
Yeah.
Unless you pack snacks or something, your breakfast is going to be hot dogs and nachos.
Because that's what's served in the hallways into the halls, right?
That's what they're in the lobby. There is one concession stand with a lot of. It has some lonely bananas and apples just sitting there for a few days. But let me tell you something. You would not believe how much at 11 a.m. Nachos with chili on them moves. It moves a lot.
Imagine. And I can imagine that the inflated price seems well worth it at the same time.
I mean, I'm not going to say I know from experience, but I mean, it wasn't a very comfortable early morning going in Saturday to Sunday. That's all. I'll leave it at that.
I don't know if you're familiar with Temple Grandin at all.
No, sir.
So Temple Grandin is like the world's expert on humane livestock transportation, in like humanely getting livestock into the processing places, right? She kind of like revolutionized and changed the way livestock is processed. And when I say processed, that's a nice way of saying taken into the killing floor. Nice. Because she's able to intuit the way that they would move naturally, and so you can set up chutes and funnel animals in a way that is the least stressful possible for them and keeps everything moving. I would like to think that there's an equivalent to human movement in lines and queues. But if not, I can only imagine that Temple Grandin or the likes was brought in to create such a movement of human beings in lines and queues to make all this possible, because good Lord, it seems like an undaunting task.
Oh man. And you know, mind you, again, like Comic-Con now has to have volunteers at specific oddball times to facilitate this. And what made matters worse, unlike normal times when they're like moved into this space by like midnight, apparently there had been something that had gone wrong with the passing out of ADA access bans. Like as in they might have screwed up and used all those printed bans the day before Saturday. And so like literally there were talks and negotiations with lawyers, with members from the ADA and representatives. This is all, again, lore and scuttlebutt of the line.
Sure.
But they were doing that until 3:30 in the morning. So they couldn't move anyone in case they needed to do something special to move these people in first or something. So every year it's a mess. Every year there's something that goes wrong. But again, it's this thing where they've got to accommodate this situation that seems nuts. It's not like they're going to hire a front-end engineer and a back-end engineer to come up with a scanning app to optimize them capturing this line thing somehow. I mean, but anyway, it was still an amazing experience that you go through and you're completely exhausted. But we did get into Saturday's Hall H. So Trent, I was double masked, so I couldn't smell it, but up on the stage, The Rock was in fact cooking for the DC panel.
You don't say.
It was. I think it was a weird choice for Warner Brothers DC's panel to just be Shazam and Black Adam. Mostly because, you know, they also have like Batgirl in production, but also and the Flash. But I understand there's some Ezra Miller issues there.
Did they have any talk of the DC or no, the Warner Brothers Universal game?
No, dude. Well, I mean, I don't know if there was another panel for gaming like prior, because like Marvel's game panel had happened the day before, or animation. But no, all their panel was Shazam and then Black Adam.
Which the trailer looks great.
And dude, so we didn't know what was happening. Two things happened. They handed a postcard to you as you were coming in, and they gave you a special lanyard, which I don't have here in the room, that was just a black lanyard with a white lightning bolt on it, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So, and it's thick because it's got a battery pack on it, and you're like, you're lighting up sometime. I know this. And sure enough, after the Shazam panel, suddenly the lights go out. the sound of thunder starts rolling. You can see the fog machines are pumping stuff in, the lines are moving, and suddenly Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the Black Adam costume is in the middle of that big screen behind everybody.
Oh my God.
And he makes they do some tight shots on him, and he makes a lot of glaring faces, and then he like casts his hands out, and the entire screens behind him start doing black lightning, and then we all intermittently receive notification that our seat at Cheesecake Factory is now available, because we all start lighting up at different intervals. And so we become a part of the experience. And that was interesting to see. So then they lower him down and have to get him off and off stage as people peel him out of that. So they bring on the other stars, and it was great hearing them, like the guy playing Hawkman, and it was a great panel. It wasn't very heavy, although I will say from the Shazam one, that was like I think it's Shazam Wrath of the Gods or something. Helen Mirren is one of the women doing this, and she was remoted in on video for it, and she said some very provocative comments. I'll cleanly say she said Kitty Power was on screen, but another 5-letter word for cat or kitten. They're 5 little letters I'm missing here, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
so that was interesting to see. That doesn't happen every day. And then Lucy Liu followed it up saying that there was a lot of that in the room there, and she named it too. So again, that's very strong female representation.
Hell yeah, dude.
And all of the panels were great. But, naturally we were there actually, we weren't even there for Marvel. You know what I was there for? I was just there for this. All of that time in line and everything else is for this. The Multiverse Saga hat, Trent.
Okay.
Which is phases 4, 5, and 6, my friend. This is what you do it for. And people just gave these things away, man. But this is what you do it for. It's so you get the hat.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And I got it. But the presentation itself, also, I'm amazed. And it's after seeing what I went through to get into Hall H this year. And mind you, when you hear me describe it, obviously, none of the heavy lifting was being done by myself. I sat around and had good conversation with people and spent time with my daughter in a bonding experience. And then I had to get up early and do that a little more and eat crappy food for breakfast. Whatever, and dinner.
Sure. Yeah.
All for a hat. But
the experience, Will, come on. The hat is just a memento of the experience, right? When we look upon these objects, it's the reason we're collectors, right? When we look upon these objects, they invoke emotion and experience that then we can relive through the reminders that these objects give us.
Exactly. But also, Marvel honors the tradition by there literally were things that they showed that have not been on, well, not legally been on the internet. Like, we got to see an Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer, and that, by the way, had which the director did cop to, because there's a moment and you're like, was that thing an interpretation of MODOK? And that thing was confirmed an interpretation of MODOK, my friend.
Okay,
so,
one of my favorite Jack Kirby creations.
I know. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania it sounds like part of it is being made specifically for you, my friend.
Hey, like I said, I live in a world where I feel like so many things are being made specifically for me that I can't understand why they're getting made at all.
I know, but I'm thankful for it. I really am. What else was exclusive that we got to see? We got to also see, everyone got to see the She-Hulk trailer. What was the other exclusive thing that we got to? Oh, the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, which is also going to, once it releases, Trent, it's going to rip your frickin' heart out. Okay? Because there's one scene in this trailer. First of all, Adam Warlock looks great from the brief flash we see of him on the screen.
Okay, good. I'm so glad that they're carrying on like that Easter egg at the end where we saw like Adam Warlock created it out of the cocoon.
Yep, he is coming. Also, in the Hall H panel, I've got footage of it. I'll add it to the Patreon after this. But the High Evolutionary comes in and walks the entire middle of Hall H up to the stage, and then also tells us how disgusting we are and how he can't wait to dissect us in order to improve us. But in that trailer, like, the thing that everyone's reacting to, Trent, is that you see, like, in a cage, in a group of raccoons, is a baby raccoon that is fearfully looking as the High Evolutionary's hand comes in to grab him.
Oh.
So, like, this, and Gunn is confirmed, this is like the story of
Sure, yeah.
Rocket's past and his present, because in his view, and this really hit me because it's true, like, he views Rocket as the loneliest creature in the universe, the saddest.
Sure.
Because, you know, he is one of a kind, and he's an artificial creation to some extent. But also, like, seeing him look for the High Evolutionary's validation in a clip where he's a little bit older, but a little more evolved, and it's just going to tug at our heartstrings. I can tell you right now, James Gunn he's going to make me cry, and I'm going to beg Daddy to make me cry more. I know it.
Yeah. He's going to make you cry in a really weird way that you didn't know was possible.
Exactly. And it's going to hit me, and it's going to hit me hard, and I want it. So there we go.
Not unlike Brittany, we want to be hit one more time. Baby.
Yes, baby. Please do. So yeah, I survived the Hall H experience. Well, I can't really say that because it wasn't until I think Friday of this past week that I felt like a normal human being again.
That you actually got into, like, the rhythm of life.
Yes, that I felt that my head was clear, my direction was known, and I didn't need a crutch or a nap that day, kind of thing.
A nap, right? Yeah. You didn't need some sort of balance to help recuperate from where you were.
Yeah, the nap was what really became, like, the mandated event for. I avoided it Tuesday, but I definitely succumbed Monday and Wednesday, and Thursday was when I was quasi feeling human going into Friday. So, you know, look, man, it's a young man's game, and if I've learned anything from this, it's to make sure I pay attention to the rules, and I shoot for getting some press pass credentials for these things next time I go, rather than having to sit. Nothing against, it was an amazing experience, a bonding experience, and to be so quickly and openly accepted into a group of people just looking for the same thing. But by the way, you would not believe how fast these people will also turn on others of the line.
Yeah, if you're not willing to toe the line and fulfill your part of the unsaid contract, I can only imagine the social ostracization is immediate.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you have violator. Actually, there was, when we were getting let into Hall H, there was one guy that twice got caught trying to sneak in with the people in the flow. I mean, like,
not cool, dude.
Nah, don't.
Not cool.
Yeah, like, I almost feel bad about having been able to sneak in, but at the same time feel validated for being able to sneak in 2019.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. While it's kind of like that imposter syndrome that we all feel, right? Like, while you feel like you were sneaking in, there was no sneaking about it. You were adopted into the House of H.
Yes, definitely, my friend. That was it. You know, we were instantly a part of a like mind and a like group, and it was really nice. You know, seriously, I think I made some legit friends there. But, you know, good news for members of our Patreon. Not in any way a raffle or a giveaway, but like, some people may randomly be receiving these unused but painted versions of the facial coverings as our ongoing saga of what do I do with it? It gets played out.
Right.
So that will, and that also, by the way, was the 3D printing review, in case you didn't notice it.
Right. I rightfully done, and rightfully so.
But still, I think the one that I love the appearance of the most was the Vader one. You know, just because.
Yes. From your social media stuff, the one that I would like drew my attention the most, partially because I didn't know you'd done it, and so it was a surprise for me. But it looked the best, I think. Like, anytime we always see Darth Vader stuff, I feel, at least, it's always way too low on the face. for any fan or not pre-production, but pre-made, sold to the masses, whatever. It's always way too low on the face. That one actually has the nose piece on your nose.
Yeah, it does. And of all the mask designs, it's also the one that even molded in provided me with the most like free area on the inside, which is good because again, with that filter in there and all of my flight home too, I was double masked as much as possible. So you throw another filter in there and I was like triple masked. But the funniest part about the double masking is that when you have the two metal clips of one mask on top of one mask, it adds a little extra weight. So it eventually slides down and starts suffocating me by pinching my damn nose.
Yeah. Yep. I didn't think about that, but it makes sense. Yeah. Well, and then you become very accurate in your cosplay because it is all mouth breathing. Yeah,
it was. It was all mouth breathing, especially when I've been huffing it up the street to get to the movies pop-up. You know, it's just like suddenly I'm getting the... You okay, Dad? Yeah, just give me a minute. We went up the stairs. Just give me a second. I'm huffing and puffing like James Gandolfini here. Give me a second, all right? Because I don't care what it was, man. I even got a picture. There was a TikToker, Jennings Bauer, I believe is his name, who I did follow. And as we were walking back from getting banded and seeing off our overnight crew compatriots to the Hall H tents that they would hopefully get into, on our walk back, he was passing by. So again, I just quickly said Jennings, but after the entire exchange, even when I looked at the photo, it didn't register. I realized I did that entire exchange with that fucking Darth Vader mask on.
Yep.
Homeboy knows nothing of what I look like, but I'm sure a lot of people feel that way because again, I was masked no matter what on this trip. It's
smart, man. Yeah, and you have the fruits of normal health to benefit from it.
So far, we'll see. But like you said, we got to watch out for the pox now too. You got the vid, the pox. What the hell is next?
Yeah, California's the only place. So there are 2 vaccines available for the monkeypox, but the only place that's got them is California, because that's the only place that it's popped up so far.
That is just terrifying. That is just terrifying. I will say though that you could definitely tell of anything. There were a lot of people that were just so thrilled that Comic-Con was back. The funniest part though, conversationally, all we had to keep saying would have been last con. But instead, we all kept calling it last year because in some ways, things just felt familiar again. So we were instantly just kind of bridging that gap. Or, from the trauma, we're all suppressing that time period. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was
Was there one last year?
The only thing that happened last year was in around the Thanksgiving weekend. They did a special edition one, and the turnout was not...
okay.
It was how much you would expect if you decided to do a special edition Comic-Con on Thanksgiving weekend.
Sure.
When people are all supposedly finally able to get back and see family. So
right.
Went over about as well as you'd expect.
Yeah.
But still, it was a wonderful experience, and I got the hat. We also the other one was the Game of Thrones House of Dragons panel. So that one they gave out. Oh, you remember that postcard I mentioned for?
Yes.
The Rock's Black Adam.
The Black Adam panel.
I had posted a picture on Instagram of that card, part of it anyway. I didn't realize it would cut off, but I'm glad it did. And the lightning badge. So if you go to that Will Wilkins on Instagram, you can see it. But luckily I didn't post the full image of the postcard because there's a redemption code on it for an IMAX ticket once it's out in theaters.
Oh, hells yeah, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So I almost gave somebody on the internet a free ticket. Almost.
Yeah, whoever was smart enough almost smart enough to get it out.
Yeah, almost. But thankfully it cut off just right because that was oops. And then the House of Dragons thing, we got a reusable shopping bag with an exclusive Comic-Con poster in it. Obviously, from the Marvel panel, this is what we got. Even though last time we got the hat and the good old-fashioned collection of Infinity Saga cards I still have right here. But still, free stuff is free stuff. And then Kevin's panel, he showed the first 5 minutes of Clerks, and I kid you not, I heard people crying around me when that aired.
Aw.
Because there were just people that instantly were, I mean, because that's like, you see this and now it's instantly 30 years ago. Where were you when you first saw it? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Sitting in my basement on my senior year of spring break. Yeah.
There
I
you
remember
go.
it vividly.
You always remember your first, right?
Yep. It's true. And no one will ever be able to take that away from me.
Nope. And nor would we want to, Trent, nor would we want to. Hey, Trent, speaking about you, because we've pretty much just talked about everything that's been my life for the past couple days. How things going in your world? You still devoted to devotion wrestling?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we've been making a lot of big announcements for our 4th anniversary show in December. We've got both Eric Bischoff and Diamond Dallas Page are booked to be here. Longtime.
I know both of those names.
Yeah, exactly. We've got the Big LG and Carl Anderson, the Good Brothers themselves, are going to be here, and we've got more announcements coming almost daily at this point. So it's definitely going to be the biggest independent show ever seen in the Intermountain West. And I hope people are excited to see it. I'm not sure if we've decided on a venue yet, but we're having a hard time finding a place to accommodate everyone that's going to show up, because it's going to be a big deal. So that's still 4 months out. A little sneak peek. It's probably going to be an actual live pay-per-view through a streaming service. I'm not sure if we've solidified that deal yet, but fun for me, because that opens up a whole new ball of wax for me to edit live, as opposed to doing the whole thing in post.
Oh, wow. So now you've got to figure out, okay, these are the beats I normally have. These are the things I look for. Also, I got to have my solid wide shot I can always fall back to no matter what.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is going to be getting confirmed people to be camera operators, and then telling them what I expect.
Yeah, exactly. Look, this is what I need. You are here. This camera always runs. It always stays on the principle. Also, if you look over there before you move, if you see me moving this camera, you touch nothing. You hold that shot.
Exactly. And we'll be on comms, but like even when we're shooting for post production, like I'm yelling at them, zoom in, keep going, don't zoom all the way in, please. Okay, never mind. You missed it.
And this is wait, now is this just you yelling in post production?
No.
Okay, on comms. Okay.
Yeah, we're on comms and everything even then, but like because I know, like, when I get to editing it in 2 months, that's the shot I'm gonna want. But yeah, so that's as far as gear and everything goes, I'm all set on that aspect. But
Poor Trent. They're like, they didn't zoom in enough, and you're like, oh god, now I'm gonna have to put up with the oversampling so I can get the shot I want.
Yep. Yeah, well, and it's one of those things, like, bless their hearts, and that's why I think getting people to commit early so I can get them trained in time is because a lot of times my camera operators are just like, who's a fan that doesn't mind running a camera that night?
Oh boy. You were aware, but I'll just remind everyone else. My 20s, like from basically age 19 to age 29, I was an event wedding videographer on the weekends. It's always been a hustle, Trent. Always been a hustle. But if you can make 300 plus a day just for doing one day's work, that adds up. So, I would shoot for other people. So they had the gear. I'd pick up the gear. I'd go. I'd just be the shooter for the day. But especially after you've started editing, that there are certain things you're going to need, certain things you're going to want, certain ways you need to get this. And there's no do-overs. There's no double takes.
Exactly. Yep.
That's it.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So, which with in post production, it's a little different because you can have the static shot of a crowd reaction or something like that. But for live, you don't get that option.
No, you don't. And there's the complication of the live audience too, because now you do need a crowd reaction shot too.
Yeah. Well, and on top of it, like I'm like. I used to, like, as a fan, I used to give Kevin Dunn, who's the producer for WWE, so much shit for sweetening the sound, which is for a live production when you have like the reaction you actually want versus the reaction that's actually given by fans.
Yeah.
But in post production, I do it all the time. Like I do. Like if there's a we call Smark fan who's cheering for the bad guy or whatever, I'll drop their audio out. I don't give a shit. But for live, I don't get that option anymore.
No, you don't. It becomes very hard to have but you could still have a standard crowd bed that you could be layering over the crowd, and you could have some pre-programmed reactions where if you wanted, because seriously, I can, if I wanted to, I can drop in any type of audio during the show
Which I'm heartbroken to report
that I want to.
Well, that's right.
If I wanted to,
Boogie, let's burn this motherfucker down.
I can drop it in, and that's just with something as simple, and this is not a commercial, as Stream Deck's whatever these I can't even remember the name of the product now, but it's all the push buttons. So it's everything I used to do with software on a PC, but now instead I've got a large dongle that lets me map the same thing.
Give me an appliance whenever possible. I am all about the separate appliance, because then I don't have to worry about a software update or anything else. I plug it in and it's going to work.
Exactly. Like this. I'm able to just jump between our shots because I'm using one of these things to just hop on over from one shot to the other, because I'm able to set them up. It's perfect. It's the reason.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same reason why, while I'll still be using OBS to transmit the stream to the pay-per-view, all my editing will be done on a external Roland mixer for cutting video.
Yeah,
just because it's I know it's gonna work. I know it's immediate. There's and then the OBS can just focus on one specific thing, and that's putting out a stream.
Yeah, you just do this. This is what I need you to do. I can't, and that is in any type of practical application, and that is the reason why I can never adequately answer to my wife when she says, "Why do you need all these computers?" Because there's a discomfort I get that there is one computer that my camera is going into that's also sending out the stream, and I'm switching through. But I have to accept that. Whereas I could be doing that exact same thing on a separate computer and sending to that computer to capture it. So that way, all I know it's doing is giving me my backup video recording and sending this out to the internet. Those same aforementioned sounds I was just playing, that goes to an appliance, the Stream Deck XL, that is connected to an old MacBook that I have. So that way, all it does is play those sounds when I want them. Ta-da. Real simple. Why is there one all the way? Sorry, why is there one all the way on the left? Because if we were to bring people in via call on Discord, I could do it there. Or if I was running Skype, we could bring them in. That's why that one's there. So, and I have one that's just dedicated to talking to you. So there's a purpose.
Exactly. And especially if in spite or in addition to doing a live production, you're also going to put out a post-production version. You want to make sure everything has been recorded redundantly so that you can make a post-production product and not have to rely on a live cut at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Because, technically speaking, the computer that's sending this out is doing a recording of it, but also I have redundancy because it's also going out to YouTube right now. So that's like my last resort type of thing, which I did need to resort to because our Patreon subscribers really got to enjoy the last episode way before everyone did. My pre-Comic-Con show dropped after I got back because I had not realized going straight to YouTube, which we're not doing the same way now. I would get an MKV instead of an MP4. So I had all these files loaded up and ready to just edit like one of the nights in the Airbnb, but unfortunately I had something I couldn't edit. So apologies to everybody that listens to these once we go free, which we do. Again, our Patreon subscribers don't have to listen to that commercial you guys heard a little while ago for Sonos. So, that's one of the benefits as well. But anyway, it sounds like, though, it's going to be a really exciting opportunity that I really look forward to hearing about more as we get closer.
Yeah, I'm really stoked. So just it's good that I've got some time to prepare for it.
Yeah, definitely. You always want that prep time, so that way you can feel comfortable with what you're doing, right?
Yep.
So I totally feel that. But you also got to roll with the punches and have certain redundancies. Like I love the Camlink 4Ks that we use for this. I love that I can literally switch this camera over quickly and easily to any computer via USB ports and one extended dock. It's like, oh, I want to use it for work. I want to use it for this video conference call. I want to use it for NetHeads. Very flexible and very nice. Yeah, you got to have situations that you can manage. Like, technically speaking, I pitched it once and sent another show out. I won't name drop again, but that was done from here, and I'm able to be redundancies for other people. So it is amazing what we can do technology wise, which is the reason why I hope people enjoy listening to NetHeads or taking part in the program with us.
Yep, agreed.
And by the way, Trent, one thing, and you've probably already mentioned this before, and I'm not trying to bring up a pain point, but there's something I notice every time when I'm out running errands on the weekend here, okay? That is one guy up the street. It basically, I believe he has a tools and collectible toys shop that he runs as a garage sale every week. So that way he doesn't have to have a business license.
So smart. Yep.
And part of me, I just want to ask, in a post Death Ray Comics world, aside from all of the, pardon me for putting it, but absolute fuckery that was having to get comics from Diamond Comics.
Oh, yeah, right.
Do you think realistically this is a model you could have used for launching instead of getting a brick and mortar location?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Mostly just because it's a chicken or egg thing. Because the brick and mortar is where people found out about me.
Yeah, definitely. Like the foot traffic aspect of it, right?
Yeah, and just driving by and seeing a sign. Like, otherwise it's so hard to like get in front of people's eyes with everyone else that you're competing for on Facebook ads along that way. So I honestly have no idea. I'll tell you what I do miss the most of Death Ray Comics though is a tax write-off.
I could, as a person who's got two side hustles, sir, I completely understand what you're talking about, because I miss that. There is a lot in my life that is a lot easier to deal with because I have certain businesses and expenses that I'm able to utilize. So I feel you there completely and totally.
Yep. Yeah, I mean everything, down to half of my internet I can use as a tax write-off, or half of this or that. Like, I miss it. I miss it a lot.
Amen, brother. Well, I think we have come to the end of the road. I don't think there's anything I've left on the table. What about you?
Nope. I think I've opened the kimono, so to speak.
Very good. And by the way, Trent, I think just like in the immediate future, some things to be aware of that you won't be watching, I think, this week when She-Hulk drops, which in itself, amazing trailer as well. So that's coming up. Also, we're going to get Andor around the same time on Disney Plus, and the Disney Pixar original Lightyear, I think, is going to be streaming on the service this upcoming week.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so those are some of the nerdy things to look out for if you guys want to pay attention to that kind of thing. Because I'm actually, now that I've seen the trailer, the final trailer, and been in the room while they were talking about it, I really am more excited about She-Hulk than I was before. Because she is just like the John Byrne run. She's breaking the fourth wall. Good. Yep. So it looks like it's going to be a good time, and I think I'm hoping it's the kind of lighthearted show that we're kind of ready for, because we've been getting hit with a lot of heavy stuff lately. Well, even though Love and Thunder is really a good big comical farce, but man, that's the thing too. Like, I know you haven't seen Love and Thunder yet, right?
No,
And that before it's going to be available on Disney Plus again. So
exactly, yeah. Well, and it makes sense though that they would start things off now with it for this phase with She-Hulk, because just out of if they're using the comics as even just as a rough outline, she's so tied into the Fantastic Four during the Byrne years that it would make a lot of sense to have her step in from time to time in those movies as they come up.
Dude, and I was amazed in Hall H that they announced as much as they did. I mean, I knew part of it was going to be accolades and patting themselves on the back that, you know, we haven't been back since 2019, but we have pretty much released everything we said we would and that we announced in 2019. So it was like, yeah, kudos. You guys pulled that off during the pandemic. But to actually get into phases 5 and 6 and to find out that I think phase 6 starts off with Fantastic Four and ends in the same year with 2 different Avengers movies, Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, and then Avengers Secret Wars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was exciting to find out about because what, you know, I think audiences would actually consume the masses if we did have to wait an entire year between Avengers cliffhangers again.
Well, and I think they see that there is so much being put out so quickly, not like direct to video, but almost of that same idea of simultaneous release with HBO Max, that they realize they have competition and that people will lose interest if they're not quick about it.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. Very well put. And that was something that was neat to find out also during the presentation. First of all, seeing what they would put up on the phases and just seeing so many elements of Disney Plus filtered in there, you're like, yeah, they really are leaning into it. But also, I was completely and totally astonished when first of all, when there was the inclusion of Daredevil, a flash of Daredevil at the end of the She-Hulk trailer. And a lot of people are wondering if it's the yellow and red costume because of the way the lighting was hitting the costume at the time. It may have had like some yellow upper sleeves and possibly a yellow cowl.
Interesting.
It's hard to tell though, in my opinion. But also, so he's showing up there, but then they also revealed that I think in phase 5, near the end of it, is Daredevil Born Again, which...
Oh, shit!
And by the way, they announced a full 18 episodes of it. So I think they're going to do the legit tearing down and building back story.
Oh, dude, folks, if you have not read Frank Miller... I personally believe you can separate the artist from the art, and if you feel okay doing that, go read Frank Miller's Born Again series with Jansen Klaus on the art. It is holy balls. It's the definitive, in my opinion, Daredevil story. It's so good.
Oh, and so gut wrenching when all of this you find out, you know, just like from the very beginning. You know, a strung out Karen Page is just looking for that one last hit. So she barters the one thing she knows she has, which is Daredevil's real name.
Yep.
And she does that to Wilson frickin' Fisk. And woo, it is like I have not read a lot of things in I don't want to say modern comic books, but you know, in the past 30 years of comic books, I haven't read a lot, but that was definitely one that I read. And oh, wow. I mean, to some extent, I'd also like to see Kevin's storyline that he did for his Daredevil run, too.
Yes.
But anyway, I digress. It was exciting to hear 18 episodes. So a lot of people are like, are they going to be, like, if they're 30 minutes, that's understandable. But, you know, if they're running the average 45-minute runtime, that's a hell of a commitment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, and hopefully that there's no filler episodes, which the past Daredevil didn't do, so...
Well, my only question about this in relation to this is, do we have enough to be emotionally connected to Matt Murdock as he's been crept into the MCU with Spider-Man No Way Home and then apparently an appearance in She-Hulk? Is that enough for us to be invested in and care about him being taken apart brick by brick, if you will?
Well, and I would like to think that whether the Marvels or the Netflix stuff is included as canon or not, it does help establish a connection with the character, so they can play off that shortcut. Not unlike how Spider-Man no longer has to give the Spider-Man origin. We're all familiar with it. We already have that connection.
That was the left hook that we weren't seeing coming from Spider-Man No Way Home when we suddenly discovered, oh, this trilogy we've been watching is his origin story.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Like, son of a gun. Oh, you got me, Marvel. You got me. Anyway, so that's some nerdy stuff coming up. Personally, of all the video that is out there right now, I have adopted your philosophy with one show, Trent, and I'll close up on this. And that is that I have not watched, because I am waiting for the final season to be done. I have not watched the final season yet of Better Call Saul.
Smart.
Because I am not. I've filtered it out of my news feeds. I've blocked it on social media. I've filtered it there, and I'm going to wait until all is said and done so I can just sit down and watch it at my pace. And
way to do it, man.
And focus on other stuff.
Yep, it's a way to do it.
Like printing nerdy 3D masks before I go to Comic-Con.
Exactly. It
was a way to make it fun. You know what I mean? And I had a good time doing it.
I do. I totally get that.
All right, man. Well, hey, guys, of course, keep an ear out and an eye out for the Devotion Wrestling's comings up, especially with a pay-per-view, because I'll tell you what, man, I don't care about wrestling. I'll be honest, okay? I think we know this, but I'll be goddamned if you're running a pay-per-view. If there's not a way for me to tune in for it, I'm doing it just to support you.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, so I know that when you are going through this pain, I'll be watching every moment of it, just waiting to mock you on the next NetHeads with it.
And you know what? I accept that.
It's not going to happen. I'm just like, dude, you pulled it off. You're a god. Walk amongst gods the way you should. Look down on men. That's what I'll do. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for joining us for this episode. Until next time, my name is Will.
And I'm Trent.
And we will be back
soon.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Trent Hunsaker signing off. I know, right? But stop being a little Nancy and deal with it. NetHeads. We'll be back soon.
Goodbye.
This has been a Smodco Internet production. Sip. Only at smodcast.com. That was not the usual dancing we're accustomed to.
No, it was wiping the slobber off of myself and my monitor.
That, folks, is the glamorous lifestyle of the internet broadcaster.